Now, what's crazy about all of this, we heard what we heard yesterday about Tony Grossi speaking about none other than Dillon Gabriel. Now, this article came out today. It stated Cleveland Browns analyst brutally rips into Dillon Gabriel. Let's read this. It says Dillon Gabriel has now been the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns for the last 4 games so far. And it states he has not done anything to show that he can be a long-term quarterback, which we all can agree on that. Now, following that performance, Cleveland Brown analyst Daryl Reuter spoke out with harsh words and brutal criticism of the rookie.
Things are undeniably intensifying for the Browns' nascent signal caller, though this period of adversity isn't uncharted territory for the team. What has emerged as a novel development, however, is the increasingly inventive yet profoundly harsh tactics reporters are employing to subtly manipulate Dillon Gabriel's narrative. The critical question, however, lingers: does he truly warrant such relentless scrutiny? Unquestionably, he does, and as long as Shedeur continues to be marginalized within these discussions, Gabriel is unequivocally not going to evade this wave of animosity anytime soon. Yet, what exactly did the most recent expose uncover? What specific details were brought to light that possess the potential to completely unnerve Gabriel, pushing him to his breaking point? Gabriel, by all indications, appears to be teetering on the precipice of a comprehensive mental unraveling at this juncture. It seems every conceivable solution is being proffered, short of the one genuinely radical suggestion: implement a change at the quarterback position.
Now, they're saying everything but change the damn quarterback. You have to change the quarterback up. You change the quarterback up, you win the game. It's a quarterback-driven league. I don't know, man.
What an undeniable jolt back to reality this situation presents. A perspective that, while undeniably harsh, rings with an almost agonizing truth. I mean, genuinely, what precisely has Dillon Gabriel demonstrated or achieved to warrant this seemingly unending cascade of unwavering support from his head coach? Each instance of a demonstrable misstep is met with the same worn-out, predictable refrains. He's new, he's still learning, he just needs time. How much more time could he conceivably require? Because from the collective vantage point of every observer, Gabriel has been afforded every conceivable opportunity to decisively prove his capabilities, and yet he persists in performing with the demeanor of a rookie perpetually trapped in a preseason exhibition. His aerial throws are consistently underthrown. His self-assurance appears wildly erratic, perhaps even tipping into outright overconfidence, and his capacity for leadership, that element is practically non-existent. And yet, inexplicably, the coach steadfastly continues to champion him as if he represents the sport's impending sensation. It's almost beginning to manifest as a distinct air of favoritism, and I must confess, it's becoming genuinely offensive for absolutely everyone involved. For the integrity of the franchise, for the devoted fan base, for the entire professional league, for Shedeur, and even in a perverse way, for Gabriel himself. What amplifies the sting of this predicament even further is the undeniable presence of someone like Shedeur Sanders, patiently biding his time on the sidelines, possessing an innate hunger to compete that could genuinely galvanize and uplift the entire team. But instead of granting him a legitimate opportunity, the coach stubbornly entrenches himself, continuously backing a quarterback who is visibly out of sync and arguably mentally disengaged. And this is precisely where the loyal fan base is beginning to profoundly lose confidence, not solely in Gabriel's on-field abilities, but in the entirety of the overarching decision-making apparatus. Because let's confront the undeniable fact, regardless of the extent to which one attempts to staunchly defend a player, raw talent invariably resonates with far greater impact than steadfast loyalty, and at this very moment, Shedeur's eloquent silence from the sidelines is articulating every single truth that desperately needs to be heard.
He stated, "I'm so frustrated that Andrew Berry did this." Reuter stated that he spent a top pick on Dillon Gabriel, that they kept shoving this guy down our throats. I told you in the training camp the guy wasn't it. This is unwatchable.
Who, in their absolute soundest judgment, conceived that the initial drafting of Dillon Gabriel constituted a judicious decision? I mean, with all earnestness, what foundational necessity drove that choice? The franchise already possessed Shedeur Sanders, an athlete who quite literally exuded untapped raw talent and undeniable potential. Yet, astonishingly, the Browns organization, in its collective wisdom, somehow deemed it a sagacious maneuver to wager their future on a rookie who is conspicuously still grappling with the fundamental intricacies of his own offensive schemes. It borders on the absurd, truly, the conscious decision to bypass established, demonstrable potential in favor of an untested newcomer who has yet to exhibit even a solitary glimmer of exceptionalism is perplexing. Whoever was responsible for orchestrating that specific personnel decision had unequivocally better possess an airtight, thoroughly compelling justification, because at this precise juncture, the entire situation appears less like a meticulously crafted strategic play and far more akin to outright, deliberate sabotage. But the deeper, more unsettling question remains, was this merely a catastrophically poor executive judgment, or was it, in a far more sinister light, a calculated and purposeful endeavor to dismantle Shedeur's burgeoning career?
We all remember when he got that speeding ticket, right? It was a speeding ticket. Granted, was he going fast? Yeah, he was going fast. But the fact of the matter is, they blew it out of proportion. Myles Garrett, like 2 weeks later, ended up getting a speeding ticket too. But you didn't see it reach the heights that Shedeur did. You didn't see multiple upon multiple videos coming out from these Cleveland media people talking about talking about Myles Garrett getting that speeding ticket. But it's things like that that played out to me during the offseason that tried to hurt his character, as a person. But you want to know what Shedeur did when all that was going on? Visiting more schools, pulling up on kids, going to the trenches, going to the hood. Think about any other player in the NFL that's young, like Jaden Daniels. No disrespect to Jaden Daniels, but you don't see him pulling up to the trenches. Caleb Williams ain't going to O-Block. You ain't seeing Shedeur was going to the trenches, bro. Do they like him going to the trenches? No. At least I don't think they do. And I think that's part of the reason too as well why they went at him so hard is because he was going to the trenches.
Now this right here says a lot.
Now this particular incident unequivocally speaks volumes, laying bare a disturbing truth. They meticulously transformed what should have been a straightforward traffic infraction, a simple speeding ticket, into a sprawling, full-blown public scandal, solely because the individual involved was Shedeur. That entire episode serves as incontrovertible evidence of the profound and systematic unfairness with which Shedeur is consistently treated. The media didn't merely report on it, they pounced upon it with the ferocity typically reserved for the breaking news of the century. One minor misstep, and instantaneously, he becomes the singular focal point of every talk show, every headline, every single online comment section. It's almost as if they were lying in wait, actively seeking any pretext, any justification whatsoever, to mercilessly drag his reputation through the mud. This isn't merely journalism. It is quite precisely what can only be accurately termed a witch hunt. And what exacerbates the situation is the glaring, undeniable presence of double standards. Other athletes commit errors with regularity, sometimes even far more egregious transgressions, and the coverage barely registers on the news cycle. But when it concerns Shedeur, it's as if the entire world collectively loses its composure. They meticulously distort every narrative, twisting stories to portray him as arrogant and immature, when in the realm of reality, he is simply navigating the universal developmental trajectory of any young player, learning, growing, and discerning his path. It's as if they cannot tolerate witnessing his ascent. They simply cannot reconcile themselves with the undeniable fact that he is confident and unapologetically authentic. One can almost viscerally sense the ingrained bias radiating from every headline. They clearly do not desire to see him succeed, because Shedeur is not merely another rookie amongst the ranks. He is a name that carries inherent significance, a weight that quite frankly intimidates certain factions. It poses a direct challenge to the comfortable established order of those who believe they dictate who belongs and who does not. So rather than acknowledging his inherent talent and rising prominence, they endeavor to dismantle him with utterly nonsensical narratives and excessively exaggerated stories. But here is the immutable truth. Regardless of the intensity of their efforts, Shedeur is the sole individual whom fans and discerning analysts will steadfastly continue to champion, a loyalty that will persist until such a time as he himself unequivocally demonstrates an inability to perform at a high level.
Gabriel, so it seems like they're going to stick with the rookie third rounder here for the, at least for another week, if not longer. I would assume longer, but look, he said that he's going to that they're going to look at everything. They're going to evaluate everything. I said on the post-game pod that for everybody on that offensive staff, Kevin and Tommy and whoever else, this should be hell week for them. Like, this should be the worst week of the year for them, trying to figure out what they need to fix with this offense.
Let's be unequivocally direct and address the obvious. There's a persistent, glaring refusal to confront the genuine core issue at hand. The dysfunction is palpably evident to every observer, yet there's a collective, deliberate pretense that it simply doesn't exist. The quarterback situation is the undeniable fulcrum of the problem, and this reality is universally acknowledged. Despite this, for Stefanski, accountability is perpetually shifted elsewhere. The receivers ostensibly require enhancement. The defensive unit needs to solidify. The overarching strategy necessitates alteration, but Dillon Gabriel, he remains inexplicably sacrosanct. Regardless of the abysmal quality of his performance, Stefanski consistently shields him, as if he is fundamentally incapable of error. At this juncture, it has become genuinely exasperating to witness. It's increasingly difficult to suppress the speculation regarding the true underlying dynamics. Is Stefanski's unwavering affection for Gabriel so profoundly ingrained that he is simply incapable of conceding a misjudgment? Or could there be some undisclosed personal animosity directed towards Shedeur? Irrespective of the specific reason, the entire scenario is frankly absurd. Shedeur's palpable potential is recognized by all, yet he continues to be deliberately overlooked for reasons that defy all logical explanation. The team's overall progression is being actively stymied purely because the head coach staunchly refuses to engage with objective reality. This is no longer about fostering improvement. It has unequivocally devolved into a matter of ego, and if Stefanski persists on this trajectory, it will only serve to propel the Browns deeper into an inevitable decline, a descent that is alarmingly already materializing. This is not hyperbole. Dillon Gabriel is going nowhere in the immediate future. They stubbornly insist on further evaluating him, as if the conclusive evidence from the preceding games wasn't already overwhelmingly sufficient. Perhaps at a minimum, the fundamental play calling strategies might finally be open for critical reevaluation.
Play calling be something that is on the table. And he did say they're looking at everything, except for, of course, the quarterback situation, which I find a bit odd. But they are looking at everything, and I do think that it is something that they will take a look at. And I actually would be for a change in that regard, not because I think he's doing a bad job, because I think everybody involved with the offense right now is just trying to navigate a bunch of really young guys trying to work through this, and it's not easy for anybody. So I don't know if it would be the fix, but I think they have to try something. I think they have to try a few things.
Let's be brutally frank, Stefanski's play calling has consistently been an unmitigated disaster. Week after agonizing week, it's the exact same predictable sequence of plays, the same consistently poor timing, and with depressing regularity, the same dismal results. One has to question, how do they expect anything to fundamentally change when nothing appears to be working? It's as if he's directing games on a complete autopilot setting, utterly devoid of genuine strategy or any palpable sense of what is actually unfolding on the field. The offense appears perpetually bewildered, offensive drives consistently unravel, and players are visibly seen slamming their helmets on the field in sheer frustration. And yet, Stefanski persists in behaving as though his master plan is miraculously succeeding. The most egregious aspect is his unwavering blind trust in Dillon Gabriel, a player who is unequivocally unprepared for the elevated level of competition into which he has been thrust. Everyone with a modicum of football understanding can discern this. Everyone. That is, except for the one individual whose judgment holds the most significant weight. What is truly maddening is Stefanski's steadfast refusal to accept any responsibility whatsoever. Instead of forthrightly acknowledging that his play calling simply isn't connecting, he deflects blame towards execution, the defense, or even, if necessary, the prevailing meteorological conditions. But the truth is starkly simple. The calls are objectively poor, in fact profoundly bad. They demonstrably do not align with the capabilities of the players, and they most certainly do not serve to elicit the best performance from the team as a whole. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders continues to be relegated to the sidelines, treated as if he is entirely invisible. The team is in desperate need of a revitalizing injection of fresh energy, yet Stefanski inexplicably continues to recycle the identical stale ideas, as if that approach will magically rectify anything. At this juncture, it has become unequivocally clear the problem extends beyond just the plays themselves. It is fundamentally rooted in Stefanski's ingrained mindset. He is too rigidly fixated on vindicating his initial decision to champion Gabriel, even when the tangible results consistently contradict that stance. He is allowing personal pride to obstruct legitimate progress, and that very dynamic is precisely what is systematically dragging the Browns into deeper despair. The longer he keeps Shedeur on the bench and persists in implementing the same tired failed play designs, the more profoundly this team is destined to sink. And honestly, this entire situation has now distilled down to a critical matter of accountability, and right now, Stefanski appears to possess none. Fans and astute analysts have reached their breaking point, and it's high time the entire team's patience wears thin. Calls for Stefanski's removal are now a daily occurrence, echoing across social media platforms, dominating sports talk shows, and permeating post-game analysis panels. Everywhere you look, the message is identical. He has to go. People are utterly exhausted by the relentless repetition of poor play calling. What once manifested as a subdued, quiet frustration has now irrevocably transformed into an overt, vociferous demand, and truthfully, they are not mistaken. Stefanski was once lauded and hyped as a strategic savant, a tactical genius, but he is now being accurately labeled for precisely what he has become, a gimmick coach, and that label fits with disturbing precision. His system may indeed appear aesthetically pleasing on paper, but it fundamentally fails to secure victories. It is all rhetoric, entirely devoid of tangible results. Fans desperately desire a leader who demonstrates adaptability, not one who consistently seeks refuge behind a litany of excuses. Every single dismal game merely adds more potent fuel to this raging inferno, and at this advanced stage, even his most staunch erstwhile supporters are beginning to disengage. Until a genuine solution for Stefanski emerges, which, let's be candid, unmistakably implies his dismissal, this chaotic predicament will remain stagnant. The team will continue to flounder, and young players, most notably Gabriel, will persist in being the focal point of all this pervasive animosity and profound frustration. It is a relentless, destructive cycle that will not cease until someone in a position of authority finally summons the courage to make the agonizingly difficult, yet necessary, call. What are your thoughts? Do you align with Tony Grossi's scathing critique of Gabriel, or do you believe he merits a bit more time to genuinely prove his capabilities? Share your perspectives in the comments section below, and remember to like, share, and subscribe for a consistent stream of updates and comprehensive breakdowns just like this one.